Alright, ladies and gents, and guys, you get me here back with another video. Today we're going to be talking about Phainon specifically and my thoughts and final thoughts on him as a character and whether or not you should obviously invest from a free-to-play perspective or a veteran perspective. As we start, basically Phainon is one of those characters you get that have completely changed the outlook of the game. If you are able to get a premium team for him, he's able to literally zero cycle your content without you trying really hard. So if you ever see that, those plays of people zero cycling content in Honkai Star Rail, and you're thinking, God, there's just too much, that goes into planning this, and then you probably have to manual. No, I'm gonna put on some gameplay on the screen for you to see, and basically what it is that as long as you're able to set up Phainon with a specific member or a specific unit in terms of speed tuning and buffs, you can pretty much auto everything, and he pretty much zero cycles everything. To be honest, he zero cycled all my MOCs, he zero cycled all the pure fictions and apocalyptic shadows. Now let's go to the main point. Is Phainon worth getting from a free-to-play perspective and a pay-to-win perspective? My answer is yes. From a free-to-play perspective, you can literally go on without having a premium team for specifically Phainon. You can literally get away, and I'll give you a good example. I'll put, let's say here, you can literally get away with having Phainon, and there's no way nobody has Bronya yet, even at E0, but you have Bronya, and you can get away with having someone like Ting Yun, or even a good example, maybe even being Hanya and or Yukong. So let's say Hanya, for example, right? This team still hits, and you can go sustainless on him. Trust me, the moment he pops his ult, you are basically able to one-shot majority of everything, all right? And even the best thing about it is the fact that he's able to hit numbers that majority of characters have to have dupes for to be able to hit. A good example is my Acheron team, right? My Acheron team on my other account took a Jiao Q with his Lycone and an adventuring at E2 with his Lycone to be able to reach heights of around 1.1 million, 1.2 million. And bear in mind, on that account, I have Acheron at around E4, right? And that's the max she's hitting, about 1.5, 1.6, right? No, it's actually not even 1.5, 1.1 to be more exact. We have, obviously, we have the break team. Now, the break team is a bit different. You have to do the calculations a bit differently. So, with the full-on break team, and I'm talking about Fugui and maybe Ling Sha, right? And both of them are probably just E0, E0, S1. E0, S1 being for Ling Sha, and then obviously Fugui E0, S1. Firefly still hits a lot. She hits about like 400,000 like twice in a row. So technically it runs about to about 800 to 1 million at E2 Firefly with just E0 S1 premium supports. It runs about to about 1 million at max. But you see, at the same time, she does go multiple times in the round, so it does make a bit of sense. Now, that's the problem. You need premium units for her to be able to basically perform to the exact extent that you need. And that's the problem I think Acheron and Firefly had, that you needed a specific premium team or premium units, probably either at E1 or just E0 but with their Lycone and some very specific tuning to be able to get them, and specifically they have to be duped out. You cannot do it with E0. So these two units being Acheron and Firefly, I feel that there's just a very big difference compared to now what we have with Phainon, where you can have E0, S0, have premium, have no premium supports, because his premium support, realistically, in my opinion right now, is probably going to be Sunday. As long as you have a Sunday to boost up his crit rate, and you have, let's say, a Bronya to boost up his crit damage, then your other support character will basically be just one that gives him just extra damage. Now, in this case, true damage by the Trailblazer. Now, in this case, what I want to talk about is the fact that having played with Phainon E0, S0, and then getting him to E2 with S1, there is obviously going to be a difference. But you see, even at E0, S0, he's hitting numbers of what? Maybe 600,000, 700,000 at max. And he's hitting it consistently. Remember, he has multiple turns when he goes into his ultimate, but he's hitting that consistently. Similar to Firefly. Firefly does her break thing. If you have her at E2, she hits like like, let's say like 400,000, 300,000 like twice, and then she plays again immediately at, like on the second part. With Phainon, you're hitting that 500,000, literally 600,000 like every single time. Even his general basic attack in his ultimate form allows him to basically hit close to about 300,000. And that's what I want to talk about. Basically, the fact that Phainon, at a free-to-play perspective, has completely changed the game. People complained that, you know, you have your Firefly, you have your Acheron, you probably have your Jinglu, you probably have your Dan Heng, you know, you probably have your Herta, you probably have your Phainon, and they're not performing optimally until you get dupes of them and you have premium supports for them. I feel, from my experience, and I'll put it also on the screen, that basically Phainon is such a unique character to the fact that as long as you have very good support units, even free to play in this event, and as long as you can speed tune them to match Phainon, and when I mean by speed tune, in this case you want maybe, let's say, Tingyun to go first, Hanya to go second, and then if she gets her ult, plays her ult, and then basically you want Bronya to go last, because once Bronya pushes Phainon back up and then ults, you have all these buffs snapshotting into his ult, which is obviously very good, and then you get your big PP damage, everybody's happy, hitting about 300,000 every other single, like 6 instances of 300,000, or maybe even more, depending on your crit rate and crit damage and the buffs that you get. Because a good example is that Tingyun does give a huge attack buff, and Hanya does give a huge attack buff. So if you're able to build him with a decent amount of crit rate, and obviously Bronya then boosts him up with a lot of crit damage, then trust me, you're hitting a lot. His premium team, on the other hand, does help a lot, having a Sunday and then having a Trailblazer. This is a very good premium team for Phainon. And if you have him at E2 or specifically I feel E2, then to be honest, I know Saridria is coming out in the next patch. My honest opinion is that you probably do not need Saridria, to be honest, because this team on its own just completely demolishes everything in MOC, Apocalyptic Shadow, and Pure Fiction. Reason being that as long as you're able to speed tune this team, specifically for Sunday being able to go obviously first, or rather, Trailblazer to go first, pushes up Phainon, pops his skill, then Sunday pops his skill on Phainon, pops his ult on Phainon, and then now you have Bronya being the last person to give the buffs, which is basically that 66% increase in damage with a lot of crit rate, attack, crit damage, then obviously her ult, and then basically Phainon ult into snapshotting every single one of these buffs. You have about like 25 buffs, if I'm being honest, 24, 25 buffs. And there it is, end of game. I'll put gameplay obviously for everyone to see, but the gist of it is I feel that Phainon has very much changed the game. He's not a pay-to-win character. In fact, if anything, if you're able to start an account, which is now basically the best time to start Honkai Star Rail, I would suggest you do so, because in this aspect, he has completely changed the game on how you play it, even from a free-to-play perspective. If you're able to get dupes for him, even better. But at the moment, if you're a veteran and you are a new player, you know, seeing whether or not you want to play Honkai Star Rail, I think Phainon is going to be your best bet. But those are just my thoughts. If you have any likes, any comments or any thoughts, obviously hit them in the comment section and I will reply as much as possible. But with that said, hope you guys have a good day. I'll see you in the next.